Hi, I'm Goddess Cecilia from goddesscecilia.com. Let's get some things straight. The hymen is not an indication of anyone's virginity, and virginity is basically a made-up concept. It's a social construct that has a lot of weight potentially in religious situations, but realistically, medically, virginity doesn't really mean much of anything. In a lot of the work that I do, I don't really even talk about the hymen because the hymen looks different for a lot of people. The hymen is actually a really thin membrane that sits on the vaginal opening. For some, there is a slightly wider opening to the hymen, a couple of perforations in it. There's this idea that a hymen breaks during penetrative sex. That means that you're no longer a virgin. Whoa. A hymen can break on its own in a completely non-sexual situation. For some, it just happens from daily activity. When you really think about it, all of this attention towards the hymen and virginity is so very specific to people with vulvas. So how are you then supposed to know if someone with a penis has lost their virginity when there's no indication on their body? Now let's talk about this idea of virginity. The idea of virginity speaks very specifically to cis heterosexual relationships or sexual activity, specifically penis and vagina. That erases a whole swath of different sexualities, different genders. It really just doesn't even take into consideration the variety that exists out there. The concept of virginity dates back to a very long time ago. In ancient Greece, there was sort of the separation that was created between the gods and the goddesses who were virginal, who were pure and didn't have a lot of the same, physical wants and needs that the, humans did. And virginity as a concept was also used to separate those of nobility versus those who were impoverished. The idea of virginity was also used against those enslaved peoples from Africa who came to Europe, who came to the US, and used as a comparison. When it came to the slave trade, the idea of virginity was used to pit those who were enslaved against those who were the slave owners. All of those ideas have really continued to add on to this idea of what it means to be a virgin. Now, certainly there may be a personal sense of, I'm a different person now. I've grown to learn more now that I've had some sort of sexual activity. Maybe there was a before and after you had sexual activity for the first time. Using the language of virginity really plays into all of that history and really plays into the idea that, are you less of a good person? Are you less pure just because you've had sex? I don't think so. Just because you did something new, tried something different, it doesn't mean that you changed your values. It doesn't mean that you've changed who you are, like, in your core. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person all of a sudden. We are ever growing, ever changing beings. If you want to look for a different term, One of the ways that I've heard it being described is having a sexual debut. What are some terms that you might have heard? If you want to continue the conversation, if you want to share your ideas, drop them in the comments or head on over to goddesscecilia.com.